Welcome back to the Total Boat Shop. Today we're working on our motorcycle seat again. We're going to be starting our fairing process, and to do that we'll be using the Total Boat Total Fair epoxy putty system. It's a 1-to-1 fairing compound. But before we do that, we have to prep our fiberglass plug. Yesterday we wet out our fiberglass on the foam plug, and today it's all cured and it's ready to get sanded. When sanding your plug, you want to be using a hard block. We'll be using 80 grit for our plug right now, but you can use a little tougher grit if you want. Just make sure that when you're sanding, you want to work in crosshatch patterns so that you keep your flats flat and you keep the curvature the way it is. Once you work your way around the whole part, you might see some air bubbles that were left behind. Don't worry, just if you burn through the glass, just sand them all down and you can dig out the excess fiberglass with a razor blade. It won't affect the structural integrity of the part, and the air bubbles will just get filled with putty later on. The purpose of sanding the whole plug is to prep the surface so that the putty will really adhere to the fiberglass, and also it'll show you where all your lows and your highs are left in your part and show you what you'll be needing to fair. Once you're done sanding with a block, grab a loose piece of sandpaper and sand the piece once more. Once you're completely done sanding, we'll wipe down the part with acetone, which will help clean off the fiberglass residue and any dust that's on the part. It'll also help show us all our highs and lows and any parts that we might have not sanded. For our fairing process, we'll be using the Total Boat Total Fair epoxy putty system, which is a 1-to-1 epoxy fairing putty. It's one part's yellow, the other part is blue. We're just going to take a scoop of each here, put it on our piece of cardboard, and start mixing the two together. You'll know that your putty is properly mixed once it has turned fully green. To mix, I like to use a scraper so I can reach underneath the putty and fold it over. You can never really mix this stuff enough. I like to start on big flat areas so that I can use the biggest part of my putty and see if I'll need to mix some more. All my sides are also flat, and so I'll be using the metal trowel to really bridge in the lows. For your curved surfaces, you're going to want to use a plastic yellow spreader. Since they are soft plastic, they are malleable and you can kind of curve them in your hand so that you can have them contour the curved surfaces of your part. When you're filling, again, you want to go over your part very slowly and make sure that you aren't scraping off all of your putty filler and that you're really getting some good coverage. You can pick up the spreader and hit another spot and just make sure that the seams between curved surfaces aren't too lumpy. Like any epoxy putty filler, the Total Boat Total Fair system will shrink back some as it cures. So after about an hour, the putty will be cured enough for you to be able to do another skim on the lows that might have shrunk back without having to do any prep work. I like to use a rasp to really cut down the rough edges, and then I just like to go over it with some 80 grit. Once you've sanded your whole part with some 80 grit and you're satisfied with its shape, it'll be prepped and ready for primer, and that's something we'll be showing you guys next week.